Now we are standing inside the Altun Mountain National Nature Reserve. I'm together with the other experts, and we are also at the calving grounds of the Tibetan antelopes. Here we are standing at an altitude of 4,800 meters. We have some breathing problems due to the lack of oxygen, and you can see also the lower clouds in the sky. We are very close to the sky and to the clouds, and here we can also enjoy all the beautiful wonders from the nature of the Altun Mountain Natural Reserve. In front of us, we have the glaciers, and a little bit towards the right-hand side, we have the snowy mountains, the mountains covered in snow, and also the alpine and cold steppes. And I myself am by the side of this lake. Why the Tibetan antelopes have to travel such a distance to come to such a high altitude to give birth to the calves? Today we have invited our guest, the Director General of the Station for the Animal Protection, Mr. Zhang Shengfa. Hello everyone, my name is Zhang Shengfa, the head of the station for the protection here. And Mr. Zhang, we are here observing this procedure of the calving by the Tibetan antelope at such a high altitude. We have taken the vehicle and we made a whole day trip in the car to reach the spot for the calving ground. During our trip here, we have also had a lot of interesting experience. At the foot of the mountain, there is a great diversity of the vegetation, so much choice for our Tibetan antelopes as food. But the higher we go into the mountains, the fewer choices the antelopes can find as food. And on our way up the mountains, we have also run into several clusters of the Tibetan antelopes. For example, several males guiding the other females. When we meet, though we have kept a security distance, many males have come up to our vehicle, but the females, they will run away. Actually, the males, they are catching our attention so that our attention will not be given to the females. This is a way the males are protecting the females. They think that if we get interested in them, then the females would be in security. This is a very interesting phenomenon. And I noticed that you are holding a bottle of water. Just now, we have taken this sample of the water here. So what is this? It's a kind of shrimp. It's a kind of the ditch shrimps. We have taken the samples from the water system nearby. We are also in contact with the institutes of higher studies. Later on, we will hand over this sample of water for their future studies. We will also run some analysis on the water sample, and also we will run further studies on the ditch shrimps. They are in different colors, some in darker ones and the other in the bright orange color. Maybe this high altitude has given this great variety of the color to the skin of the shrimps. In comparison with those found in plains, these ones, they are very shy and they have bigger heads. The heads are much bigger in proportion to the rest of their body. Now they are much more active. And we were taking the samples. We noticed there are also many baby shrimps, and they are hidden by the grass. This morning, during our interview, we've noticed that by the Rabbit Lake, which is a saltwater lake, it's been nourished by the melting water from the glaciers and the snow mountain, and the water, the melting water from the mountains covered by snow. They are very fresh water, and you can directly drink the water. It's the natural mineral water. There is no big difference from what you can taste from a commercialized bottle of the mineral water. This is the way by which the water melted from the glaciers and the snowy mountains go into the rapid lake. We have the river basins here, and before the start of our program, we have also talked about the natural sceneries by this Altun Mountains Natural Reserve, for example, the alpine and cold steppes, the glaciers, snow-covering mountains, etc. In different parts of this area, you can find a huge diversity of the landscape, and they offered different types of habitats to different sources of animals. For example, the yaks, rabbits, Tibetan antelopes, etc. Today, we have invited Mr. Zhang, and he has prepared a map for all of us. From the map, you can see the details of the trajectory of the Great Migration for the Tibetan antelopes. They will travel by some roads and also the lake. This is the starting point and also the location of the protection station. This is the first step. This is the point by which we can make a departure. This is also the lowest point at altitude of 3,800 meters. This is also the largest lake here inside the natural reserve, and also the largest one in the Xinjiang Uygur Autonomous Region. And here you also have the landscape of the wind-caused erosion of the mountains. This is also the lowest point. Standing at an altitude of 3,800 meters, lowest point of our Altun Mountains National Nature Reserve. And towards this side, you can see the Kuli Desert, the highest desert. Inside the desert, you can find a source of spring. And I think it's a very unique one, rarely seen in other parts of the world. Usually people would think the desert and also the source of spring, they are two contradictory things. But this is a miracle that the nature offers to us. Here inside the natural reserve, at the foot of the mountain, you can also find a wetland where many Tibetan yaks live. Here we have the greatest number of the protected wild animals, for example, the wild yaks, Tibetan antelopes, and also the wild donkeys. What's the total number of the Tibetan antelopes and also the yaks? We have 12,000 Tibetan yaks, and for the wild donkeys, we have 50,000 of them. And also Tibetan antelopes with a total number of more than 64,000. Those are the three major animals living in the protection area. Previously, we mentioned that when we arrive in car, the male Tibetan antelopes as well as the yaks, they are very vigilant. Immediately, they would come up to our vehicle and they would like to declare their reign over this terrain. And when we arrive in the Altun Mountain Natural Nature Reserve, very frequently we can see the donkeys and also the yaks. Sometimes we can do a racing competition. And when they go quicker than our vehicles, they would even turn around to see where we are. And it's very important for us human beings to protect the curiosity of our animals. Let's continue with the trajectory of the migration all the way. We go up the mountains, we turn by the lake, and then we would be arriving at the Rabbit Lake where we are now. The Rabbit Lake is a salty water lake. Why the Tibetan antelopes have chosen this place to do the calving? By the side of the lake, you can find the melting water from the snowy mountains. Here, it's one of the best places for the Tibetan antelopes to find food and drinking water. And for this area is the core area of protection inside the natural reserve. For the trajectory of the great migration of Tibetan antelopes, we start by the Great Steppe, and then by the Achikula Lake, and finally the ending point is the Rabbit Lake. In total, a distance of 600 kilometers. For human beings, it would be a little bit challenging for us to breathe and also to survive at such a high altitude. And also for the vehicles, it's also not a very easy job for the vehicles to run up here. But for the Tibetan antelopes, they can run at a speed of 60 or up to 80 kilometers per hour. They have the talent to do this. Because by the back of each of their legs, you can find one airbag, which can help to evacuate the heat when they run. And also they have these special enzymes in their blood. One important message for us all. And for the Tibetan antelopes, they do not belong to the calprine family, but to the bovine family. And the Tibetan antelopes, they have black face. For the male ones, they have black face and a larger body size. During our trip here, we noticed that some of the females have already completed the calving, and they are carrying the baby antelopes together with them to go back to their living habitat. And those baby calves, they are covered now in protective colors. They look quite similar to the color of the ground, because just after the birth, the baby antelopes, they are very fragile. If they don't want to be captured by the other natural enemies, they have to put on such a coat, of which the color looks quite similar to that of the ground. So why those Tibetan antelopes each year travel such a great distance to this place to do the calving? There are several considerations. First of all is for security. Here we have a very plain area. If there are any natural enemies appearing at the horizon, immediately they will be detected by the Tibetan antelopes. The Tibetan antelopes, they are very shy. During the gestation, especially during the moment of the calving, they will get themselves hidden. And they are very vigilant. When they run, you can look at the four legs. They are jumping while running. Here we have a very high altitude and the temperature is relatively low. According to the documents we've read, the insects, they cannot grow very fast. So for the Tibetan antelopes, they have chosen this place, so their calves will not be attacked immediately by the insects. And also, it's the habit of the species. For example, when one generation has found out such a perfect place to give birth to the next generation of the calves, then they will pass down this message to the next generation. It's like a message told from the mother generation to the daughter generation, and then they will repeat this tradition generation after generation. On our way here, we notice some bears, for example, the wolves and also the brown bears, they are already waiting for the calving moment of the Tibetan antelopes. We can also find the footprints here. Very low density of the footprints. We can have a closer look at the ground. This is one of the typical vegetation in the Himalaya mountain area. The Tibetan antelopes will only eat the leaves, but they will leave the roots. This is also a kind of way to protect the environment. Sometimes you can also find the wild rabbits, but it's very hard to discover those rabbits because they have almost the same color as that of the ground. From time to time, we can also find the footprints of the Tibetan antelopes as well as the other animals. In this environment, it's quite challenging for the wild animals, but still our Tibetan antelopes have decided to choose this place as a calving ground. During the calving, it's possible for the Tibetan antelopes to be endangered by the wolves. Some of the baby calves will be directly captured and eaten by the wild wolves. But our Tibetan antelopes, they run very fast. For the pregnant ones, even though they have a prominent belly, still they can run at a very fast speed. So when there is a possible danger, they can immediately escape. Just now you have talked about this food chain and also the natural habitat. It's very important for us to protect this environment and try to minimize the human impacts on this area. When we do our daily checks, observations, inquiries, etc., what are the exact things that you will carry out? For example, we will count the number of the cows and also the total number of the pregnant female Tibetan antelopes, how many of them have arrived and how many of them have left this place. On our way here, we can also set up some temporary checkpoints. The mating season is during winter. The total mating season will last for about 20 days. After the mating, the males will be separated from the females. Starting by May and June, the pregnant ones will come to the calving ground to do the calving. They will give birth to the babies. After giving the birth, the Tibetan antelopes will go to the steppes where they can find abundant water and grass resources. We say that they are the elves of the high altitude. We think that they have this sacred spirit, whether it's for the males or the females. During their way of the great migration, the males will always stand by the side of the females. They will try their best to protect the female ones. It's just like what we can see in the human couples. The husband will try to protect the wife. For the male and the female antelopes, after the separation of the groups, they will continue their lives. And here at the spots, the pregnant ones, the pregnant female Tibetan antelopes will do the calving together in a big group. This is for the consideration of the security. Imagine during the calving, there is the attack from the wild wolf. Then it would be much safer for the Tibetan antelopes to stay in group. Some of the Tibetan antelopes, the female ones, they come to the calving grounds, but actually they are not pregnant themselves. For example, several female Tibetan antelopes, they are escorting some baby calves to go back to their habitat. Sometimes we can find a lot of the similarities between the Tibetan antelopes and human beings in order to protect the newborn calves and also to increase the number of the members in their huge family. They are really doing their best. Thank you so much, Mr. Zhang. Today we can do this live stream program because we have the support of China Mobile, especially the personnel from the China Mobile's branch in the Xinjiang Uygur Autonomous Region. Our colleagues of the Xinjiang Bureau of the China Mobile Company, please say hi to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wang Longjiang from the Internet Center of China Mobile in Xinjiang Uygur Autonomous Region. We brought up this telecommunication vehicle up to an altitude of more than 4,000 meters. It's no easy job. It's also the first time for the company to enable a connection at such a high altitude for 5G connection at an altitude of 4,800 meters. It's the first time for us to do the 5G guarantee just to ensure we can deliver the real-time images of the great migration of Tibetan antelopes. You have very professional equipment. Yes, exactly, and it's also a big challenge to our equipment and vehicles. After 24 hours of traveling, we have overcome lots of difficulties, and here you also have to consider the clouds, the thickness of the clouds, and also the other weather conditions. For example, the raining weathers and sometimes the snow. It can have some impact on the connection of satellite signals. We have calculated a lot in order to set up the connection of the 5G. Thank you so much for your support. Apart from the support coming from the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region Bureau for China Mobile, we also have other support. For example, the satellite vehicle. And during our live streaming program, we have delivered a lot of beautiful real-time images because we have very professional cameramen with us. During our shooting of the footage of Tibetan antelopes, we find out that the job is really challenging. For Tibetan antelopes, they are very vigilant. At a very far distance, they will notice human beings and immediately they will flee. This time we are doing the live streaming program at such a high altitude. We have learned so much new things, and I also would like to show to you the satellite vehicle. It's thanks to this vehicle with all the machines, equipment, as well as our director inside the vehicle that we can deliver the footage to you. And this is the director, Feng Chao. Hello, everyone. During this time's interview and live streaming program, what is the greatest challenge? First of all, is the high altitude. It's almost an altitude of 5,000 meters. It's challenging for us to move around. And we are also following the great migration of Tibetan antelopes. It's very energy consuming. It's also the most challenging part. Another thing is that those Tibetan antelopes, they are very vigilant. We have the professional lens in the camera in order to capture the image at distance. But when the equipment is large enough, they can be very heavy for us to carry on the shoulder. And thank you again, sir, for your hard work. And thank all the members of our team. We cannot use the drones to do the footage capture. So we have to carry the machine with us on the shoulders, and we have to run a little bit at such a high altitude of more than 4,000 meters. And maybe we can stop here for today's live streaming program. We can show you tomorrow how exactly the calves are laid by the mothers and how they can stand up in their own feet. That's all for today. See you tomorrow. Thank you.